Good morning. I'm Scott Forcino, an associate broker with Real Brokerage, and I founded PlugIntro, which is an education and a business portal for local business owners. And I have with me Marc Lawrence, a friend, an attorney as well, and the president of Worldwide Land Transfer. And he's got a real grip on what's up in the New York and the Long Island and the metro market. I want to hear what he thinks is happening, where we're headed, and what some of he and his colleagues are doing to serve clients. So good morning again, Marc.
Thanks, Scott. Great to be here. Always good to be, collaborating with you and chatting, talking about the market, what's going on, as well as,
Hmm.
just catching up because we know each other a
Yeah,
long time.
and we're in a macro discussion. This is also micro because people in the business community need to work together, and agents and lenders and so on need to meet those people. We lose scope with social media that the people are local can actually hire and refer you, and that to me that gets really myopic.
Yeah,
It's October 4th or 5th, I'm not sure, 4th,
definitely.
and we have 8% real mortgage rate. So what is that
Not
doing to?
yet, but we're probably headed there. Yeah,
Okay,
we're
I thought
moving
they
through
did.
the sevens. Yeah,
Okay, I thought it was one day it was 8, but okay.
might have
What's
been
up?
actually. Maybe I missed that day.
What's happening to the refis and the purchases? What are you hearing?
Yeah, no, I mean, residential market, New York City and surrounding areas, obviously interest rate, everybody knows interest rates have been on the rise. I mean, we went from historic lows to, where five seemed like a lot, then six seemed like a lot, seven was crazy, and now we're touching right eight. Is there any end in sight of the, increase in mortgages? Yeah, obviously. I mean, at some point in time, and a part of this, I guess, is an economic play of inflation. Of course, there's the political play in. I'm not going to get too much into politics. We always leave that on the side. But there's an election next year, so I think a lot of these things are cooking. And how, more importantly, for our discussion, how is that affecting the real estate market? Definitely, because I think I read that 65% of the population that are homeowners are living in homes with a 4% or less mortgage. So you've got, two-thirds essentially of your homeowners, that are paying mortgages are paying 4% or less. So
Hmm.
because of that, it's definitely chilling people from selling and rebuying in the market, especially if they need a mortgage. The cash buyer is probably king in this market because they
Sure.
don't have to play that economic game. But the cash buyer is probably king in any market. You have a lot of people that are in their homes, to buy, to buy in this market now, it's going to cost them a lot more. They're going to get less house. So you see people, building out their basements, building on extensions, and maximizing, what they have now, which is leading to low inventory. I know, I've been part-time living in Hewlett. I heard yesterday morning 15 houses on the market right now in the Hewlett market. If I want to talk micro as to where I'm sitting right now, 15 in contract. Normally around this time of year, there'd be about probably more than double, probably about 30 to 40 houses, So, we're talking about 50% of the supply of what normally, in this particular market. And I would imagine that it's somewhat similar in other markets. New York City, where I do a lot of business, New York City, there, there are transactions, and there people are able to transact. They're able to get mortgages. They're just not tremendous inventory, to buy. And new construction, actually, like the new developments where we've seen in the past couple of years, a lot of people buy into the new buildings, new condos. I've heard that as far as permits for new, what they're building new, that's really dried up. So that pipe, they're still absorbing a lot of that inventory, that was being built in the last couple of years, and it's being sold off. But 2-3 years from now, there's not going to be a lot of new product in the market. So I mean, it'll be more of a resale market, hopefully, depending on interest rates. So I think a lot of people, and I come at it from having been a practicing attorney, having been a real estate, an active real estate agent in Manhattan for a number of years, and then being in the title insurance space where I get an overview of the whole market. I would say that the optimistic realtor thinks that spring of 24, things are going to get active again, corresponding with what they believe maybe a slight decrease in mortgage rates. And I do believe that they're kind of taking them up now fast because I think because of the political play in 24 that then they want to bring them down and create some sort of, oh, the economy's turning around. It's buzzing the narrative for for the election next year. So I think that that's going to, be part of the play. There will be some softening in interest rates. I think maybe sometime, mid-year next year, which, will create a better narrative and create some opportunity, I guess, for some agents. I mean, just because rates go down too. I was talking about this with a mutual friend of ours the other day. Just because rates go down doesn't mean that everybody can qualify to refi. So, people think,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and again, you still have 65% of the people in 4%. So, even if we go from 8 down to, in the 6s, yes, it's more than a 1 point, which traditionally, people thought that was 1 point. Oh, I got a refi. But, how many people are in at the 8, where that, 6 is the refi. There are some, but, so that's what we're
Right. Well,
looking.
even with refis in New York, it's a different animal with the mortgage tax. And there's,
Yeah.
it used to be the rule of thumb 2, and then the city became
Right.
another dimension. But, one thing that I'm hearing as well is that actually 2 things. Right now, the U.S. is at record low foreclosures because people were so stringently qualified, and this is not 2008. Everyone was really,
Yeah.
really, even FHA to the amount.
Right.
So we're record low, and what's also true is there is record high equity because either it's Ma and Pa Kettle who bought in '94, or it's people who bought in 2018, 19 and shot up just by going to sleep at night. They didn't,
Right.
Money just magically came. So people are saying, and I agree with this, that listen, don't complain. Yes, the rate went from, let's say, 3 to 7. That's a big difference. But if a first-time home buyer comes in and had their heart set in 3, and now it's 7, that's a real problem. But the guy who just sold and made $214,000 of money, that's a lot of money that is tax-free. That's pure profit. That you're getting free mortgage payments. And I know people want their cake and eat it too. I made the money, and I don't. But the world is, you have now a cushion that your competition, first-time buyers or other people who move up houses, don't have. So your mortgage professional can figure out the difference. Let's call it, on $500,000. Let's call it like $600 or $800. That stinks. That's $7,000 a year. That's $9,000 a year. But you just made $214,000. So you could 10 years, and and I look at it that way, but not everyone looks at it that way. So you just got kind of a real, buoy of your financial canal. Maybe you wanted college, maybe you wanted a second home, maybe you want a brand new car. I get it, but at least, and that happened to clients and friends of mine where, oh yeah, I bought the house in Jupiter. It was like 380. Now it's 600 in 4 years.
Right.
I mean,
you've had a holding out on the value or an increase in value. So, and you're right that the foreclosures are non-existent really. Although I will say, obviously I mentioned the cost of living increasing, plus, this month student loans, became due and having to be paid. So, there's clearly, and the inflationary,
the inflation
picture,
issue is sure.
but I think people have value in their homes. I was thinking that, listen, some lender that wants to come aggressively, into like HELOCs and, but I don't know how much people, lenders want to tap back into that housing market and take that risk. But, some people do need to access some of the liquidity and equity that they have in their homes, but there's no vehicle necessarily to tap into that. They don't go out of low rate mortgage.
you and I are two non-lending people, but I know that
Mhm,
HELOCs are happening a lot. I have people that ask me,
mhm.
and we've done a few transactions in the HELOC world, which makes sense.
Yep, yep,
I mean, my friend is a, I mean, I said to him, "There's all this money in your walls. What in
mhm.
the world are you doing? I mean, you could wait for one day when your kids are grown instead of go living now." So there's that, and there's also these, adjustable rates. Surprisingly to me, are not that much lower than the prevailing rate, conventional.
Right.
But the adjustable rates are what people are using to get in.
Yeah, it's funny. I asked lender yesterday about, are you seeing more arms? And he just said they're not, priced that competitively where it's worth it, at this point in time. So, again, every bank competes against each other for business. Somebody's going to probably say, "Hello, let us go aggressive on, on the adjustable rate mortgages and try to scoop up some more business." But right now, I'm not seeing that as as a good alternative, to get a lower rate. The adjustable rates are pretty much close to the fixed. And I mean, of course, we'll make the, somebody's going to say the fixed historically. I was, there's going to be the guy that says, when I came in the market, it was 14% or 18%, mortgages.
Yeah, but the
Do
houses
I
I
think
said
we're
that, I
going
mean,
back to that? No.
no, we're not going. But my first rate in my place was 9.25, and I was happy. But
Right.
then again, the places were 250 and 350. They weren't.
Right.
I mean, it was normal for a while ago, a long time ago. So, but this to me, which we're not going to really get into, but there's a Department of Justice lawsuit that really is going to shake. I mean, more than shake. Could be a seismic shift. Could be a meteor. The dinosaurs.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons why professionals saying it should be. Plus, for those people who don't know, basically, if you're in the real estate business, the United States of America has a law firm that's the Department of Justice, and their law firm is smarter and has more money than you. So if they want something done, they're already winning. They've won motion after motion. That
Right.
this matter was declared a class. That alone is,
Right.
a huge way there. It's a huge step forward. So I think networking and collaborating in with regard to transactions, it's weird where it used to be transactions versus relationships. Now I think the transaction have to be relationship driven, where people
Yeah.
almost can't be adversarial. You have to work together, and that means
Hmm.
connecting with the right professionals. And what are your thoughts on really forming either a team or an informal team?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't know, how this lawsuit's going to end up affecting the business. I've been following it a bit, and I haven't gotten my head fully around, but there's major, changes coming down the road. This lawsuit's not going away, clearly. Um, and it's going to affect the industry a lot significantly. And traditionally realtors are reactionary type people. They don't start changing their business or thinking about something until it's told, "Hey, listen, the way we did it before, that's over now. You got to start doing
Oh
this."
yeah, no,
uh,
you can't.
you
And
know
realtors. I have a complete relationship with realtors. I'm one. My mom's one. You're
right.
one. I love about 400 realtors in the world. But the one thing I'll say, some think they're divas. Okay, we know that, but they
Mhm.
all think that they're islands. And yes, they
Yeah.
have relationships, but now I think that everyone has to have this really, really close community because
Mhm.
they cannot go it alone. I mean, to represent a buyer and with
Right.
rates so high and a seller that's not cooperative and fighting against cash buyers and justifying your income and compensation. I mean, really? How's that going to
Mhm.
work? So I
Yeah.
mean, I use the word structure. I mean, that's kind of a neutral term, but I think this got to be this collaborative structure where we're all working together. And that means picking the right pros and believing in each other where, it's more than just networking. To me, networking gives kind of this implied you can choose. You've heard of realtors. I use these three attorneys. I don't
Right.
think you can do that anymore. You have to find the people who are truly committed to your collaborative success because deals are going to be and are harder to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You're going to be forced. Before I think it was the half of the fee that forced everybody to collaborate. Now, you know, you're gonna have to, find the right people, on board the ship to, to really get your deals moving forward to, to conclusion. It's going to be different, definitely people are going to have to think differently about how they approach their business, how they grow their business, where they find their opportunities, and, the relationships are going to get, I think tighter. So,
Yeah, I
right.
mean, look
Networking
at
was more of a cast a wide net, and hopefully, occasionally I catch a fish here and there. Now it's going to be, instead of that, huge net and hope something swims in, it's going to be a little basket with a net. And these are my, this is my team, of who I do deals with, and you got to work within, my, you know, um, my basket essentially.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it seems to me in all networking, whether it's formal networks like BNI or conferences, it seems like it was always a matter of choice. Now, I mean, if you
Mhm.
notice, the legal world does not do this. The medical world definitely doesn't do this. We experience where a doctor say, "Call this person," and you said yes. The lawyers say, "Oh, call this intellectual property attorney. Call this PI attorney. Call this divorce
Mhm.
attorney." That's it. I mean, to me, they know
Right.
so much more. Or tax professionals. These other people are so much more. These lawyers and these doctors I've come across are so confident in their colleagues in their areas of practice. I've experienced this in
Right.
all ends. That there's
Right.
not this. Well, we're not committed. All lenders are not alike. All lawyers are not alike.
Right.
Realtors are and everyone has to really say to get. I keep saying this to realtors and other people, and of course they're not biting because they
Mhm.
are told by their broker, they're told by their company. It might take some real fallout for people to say we have to from day one uh, have the right people involved.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's going to tighten up, again, you saying, like, yeah, that's a good analogy when you're talking about doctors, lawyers. Say, call this tax attorney, call, um right, you're going to rely upon, your listing agent basically to, to say, this is who we're working with, because that's the only way we're going to get the deal done.
And there was always this nonsense. I thought I don't want to be on record say RESP is nonsense, but there's always this overarching belief. Oh, you gotta show me where the RESPA police is for directing your client to a professional. There's no kickbacks. There's
Right.
no yeah. There's no harm to the consumer. The thought was always, oh, if you give a referral, they'll pay more. That never happened. You
Right.
never got more of a legal fee or a commission or origination costs on a loan. Like when did that ever even happen? That never happened. That someone paid more because they got a referral. That sounds like 1970s thinking. That
Yeah,
never
look,
happened.
we saw that, in the title industry when, they eliminated, the in New York, actually, the social expenses, the entertaining expenses. They justified it that, the consumer was, bearing the bill of, what we were doing to get business, like everybody else. How they get business. You establish a relationship with somebody, you go to dinner with them, you take them to play golf. All of a sudden that became, some sort of practice that was, harming, or was, uh, positioned as something that was harming the consumer or costing the consumer more money. Of course, the same government that was saying this a few months later then increased the cost of the transfer tax and the mansion tax they made graduated. So, which
Hmm.
shockingly made the consumer pay more money on transactions. The same, consumers they were so worried about a couple months before we're paying too much money. We're bearing the cost of the title insurance, entertaining expenses. So, if you think the government cares about the consumer, you're in probably la la land.
Wow, well now we're getting far afield. But even like I mean,
Yeah.
let's take the. Of course, I'm for protection of consumer because we are both aware of
Right.
the
You don't want to see
serious.
anybody get duped or
But
hurt, definitely not.
you saw the at one point the offenses committed by the lending industry. Look at Wells Fargo. I mean,
Hmm.
people forget that Wells Fargo created 5,000 fake accounts. You realize the money all these banks have paid as
Yeah.
predatory. I mean, don't forget, but Bank of America
Hmm.
paid like $15 million
Yeah.
for minority and low income loans. I mean, you've even
Right.
heard of attorneys in New York that they were on video, I mean,
Hmm.
committing some real bad actions. So
Hmm.
there's that. But I even
Yes.
thought, I mean,
I
we're
think it was
getting in this,
steering, actually, right? That
yeah, steering. I mean, that was legal. But even in the recent past, let's say you use your example and you go, to dinner. Okay, well,
Mhm.
I would argue that the consumer wins because that is a vetting
Mhm.
process. If you pick a
Yeah.
realtor, you don't want to say get some lawyer from Buffalo or get
Right.
some home insurance guy if you're in Rochester or
Mhm.
Rockland or these weird places. Where we actually downstate
Yeah.
is the only thing I know anyone listens. It's like
I know. I
I
know.
laugh, but because
New
it's
York
true. But
State is a big place, yes, and
New
it
York
does
State's a
not
big
end at
place.
Westchester County. There's a
I
lot
know
of,
people think,
you know.
but I say,
Mhm.
let's say you have a real deal in Queens, you need
Mhm.
local people who trust each other. Should we
Yeah.
have just everyone jump to the table far flung and never heard of each other? There's no trust. So really,
Right.
even if there is a dinner for $76, wouldn't
Yeah.
I would think the consumer would want to have strong relationships in the
Mhm.
banking and the legal and the real estate representation so that my stuff goes smooth. I'll pay for my
Absolutely.
portion of a dinner if I have everyone working together on my behalf,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You listen, and people that could work together, work together. You select people that are knowledgeable, that are going to get the deal done. So they're professional, they're knowledgeable, and you have a relationship with them where, hey, listen, when we hit this hurdle, let's, how are we going to get through it together because we're on the
Or
same page.
how about if it's Saturday morning and the person that knows each other, you text them at 7:15 in the morning. My client's jammed up last night. What are we going to 100 number
Hmm.
somewhere
Hmm.
in Albany, and the person says, "Who are you?" You go through voicemail hell
Yeah.
versus, "Listen, you're a friend. We work together. Mark, I'll text you
Hmm.
7:15. Make sure this guy is calling someone back, even something silly, or
Right.
performing." So I
Hmm.
mean, we're just down this rabbit hole, and I think that there's so many things that don't make sense. Everything is relationship built,
Yeah.
and you know what? I noticed some gray hair with you. I got some gray hair, and
Definitely.
we
Definitely.
are. I always say this. One of my important blog posts is trust is under attack. It
Hmm.
really is. It
Yeah.
seems like where
Social
people who
media is
know
part of the blame to that, I think, probably.
social media because it puts
Mhm.
people in positions where they don't have the qualifications and they're showing you a
Right.
highlight reel and
Right.
Rolexes and Bentleys, which I don't have those. Uh,
I
but
joke, right? I say I only know every single realtor has a Bentley and a private jet and a Rolex.
it,
I
it's
never met a
funny.
realtor that didn't have one of those.
It's funny. Meanwhile, their kids are in college and definitely not doing that.
Right.
But I lost my train. Oh, the all the technology. Rocket Mortgage is paying whatever $1 million to be in the
Hmm.
Super Bowl, and you're not, and no
Right.
bank is.
Right.
So they're looking for the I don't want to say millennials a bad word, but people into the 30s and 40s even. Everything they do, including now you and me, Amazon, everything is an app. Whether it's my
Hmm.
eye doctor,
Yeah.
whether it's a news source, it's an app. You get everything off an app. I had a flood, and they wanted me to press
Yeah.
three buttons. So they're
I
not.
took an eye,
They're
yeah, you said and I took an eye test for Warby Parker, on my phone. Right. I didn't have to stand in front of the chart or look into one of the machines
I didn't
now.
even. That's interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I had an insurance
Warby
claim on the
Parker
phone.
has a vision test now on their app.
Wow. Okay. So that's my point. We're all so that it's really now become the
Right. This is the
provider
whole
or the
world now.
supplier to direct the consumer to the provider. That's what we have.
Mhm.
Consumer to provider. We lived in a political, social world of any kind of direct conversation is confrontational. So if you could hide behind your phone and look at an app, keep your head down, you won't have a problem. So now
Right.
that is becoming real estate, Zillow, Lending Tree. All these. The only thing is these lenders have just not gotten good. I can't believe
Hmm.
it's been this long and they
Yeah.
still are bad.
Yeah.
That's and even Zillow is America's choice definitely, but it's
Right.
still not really great. So, but
No, you
that
still can't rely
all
on this estimate.
you can't. But there's people who are of our age, our vintage and professionalism, and others that much more successful than me, who you believe in them and you know that someone's going to deliver, but all the money and all the financial and all the technological advances are against relationships. They don't want phone calls. They are looking for the consumer to go directly to the provider and cut out all the middleman, the brokers, the managers, everything. So that's their goal. Makes more
Yeah.
makes more profit.
Right. Go directly to the consumer, cut out the middleman, and use their clout and their, and their money to basically benefit them, and build their business.
I don't know how much longer really any industry has that is going to be relationship based. I mean, there's an expression, technology advances one death at a time. And that's really true. I mean, there was the horse and buggy, then there was the radio, then the TV, then the internet, and then there was floppy disks and
look at AI. Obviously that's been a big talk, and I've, a lot of us have used a little bit, but there's people out there that are developing, I hate to say it, ways to eliminate jobs, AI, and and this is gonna, I mean, it could create, there's the other argument that if you know how to utilize it, and there's a job on the other side for you, but it's definitely going to eliminate, because of the technology, is a death knell to jobs and to need for people, who's getting absorbed or getting killed by the technology, definitely. And I'm all for progression and advancement, but people, you got to educate, I think, the people, where the opportunities are, as we were talking at the beginning of our call about education, and so teaching people how they could be valuable.
Yes, and that's going to, in of course, real estate transactions, but it's okay to get a boarding pass from a kiosk. That's easy.
Yeah.
But what about authors? They compile all the written words and all of history, and then they could possibly, with a few algorithms, write better than you do.
Right.
So really, we're encroaching upon creativity.
Yeah.
So
it's a very big discussion, right? When we talk about,
it's a big one,
right?
But it filters back in the industry that we spent, combined a lot of years in, where and I know you got to jump, but to me, collaborating with the right people at a graduate level networking is the only way that individuals can survive. And why not, in a setting, tap really into local communities? And that's my criticism of realtors. They don't realize they should be working in the industry, in the community, not just taking business. They need to be more part of it.
Right. They need to be establishing relationships with people in the community, businesses in the community. That's, right. Putting out social media content, it's not a bad thing, but it's ignoring sometimes, that relationship building, and that, within the community, that leads to, relationships and more, referral business. So
I call that earning attention, where you contribute something back.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark. Well, take care.
Great.
We'll talk
Always
soon.
Great catching
Always
up with
great
you.
insight.
Talking about the business and stuff.
Talking about the business, and we're here to empower people. We're going to build a business group around you and let people know that they have opportunities that come specifically and straight from you. So we're happy to be here, and let's connect as soon as we can.